And welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Rumpa Banerjee from IPRS, and I'm glad to invite all of you to an extremely engaging and insightful session on the rise of music publishing in India. The first of its kind report delves deep into the heart of music publishing, unveiling the current state, the market potential, and the future of music publishing in India. In today's session, we will take you through the key findings of the report, which is titled The Music Creator Economy, The Rise of Music Publishing in India, which is a result of an in-depth study done by EY India. And to help you understand the findings better, we have the members from the core team behind this extensive study. I am glad to welcome today Mr. Ashish Pherwani, leader for media and entertainment sector for EY India, industry veterans, Mr. Atul Churamani, MD Turnkey Music and Publishing, and Mr. Achille Forler, founder Silk Road Communication. Welcome, sirs. I'll now request Mr. Ashish Pherwani to take the session ahead from here. Sir, over to you.
Thank you. I've shared my screen. I have a small presentation to make. Can you see it now?
Yes, we can see it.
All right, perfect. So I'm going to take you through the key findings of the report that in the study that we did, and then we can take questions on that later. I think the first thing we realized when we actually tried to size the music industry in India was that while the labels and the publishing houses together make about 4,000 crores, at end customer prices, music actually generates as much as 12,000 crores of revenue. There are about 20,000 songs that India creates every year. There's about 40,000 people that we've been able to figure out actually work on this, but there could be a much larger section. There's no data on this. There are more than 200,000 restaurants that play music. There are, 15,000 music concerts a year. There's 750 million mobile phones that stream music. 1,450 television shows are related to just music. And of course, there's 1,000+ radio stations, that listen to music. In fact, it is so omnipresent, music, that there's almost no sector of the Indian media and entertainment sector which is not touched by music. It's now become an integral part of virtual worlds, of gaming universes, and even podcasts. So as and when the media industry is growing, I think the need and consumption of music is growing with it, and therefore continues to be a very, very important part of our lives. And it's also important for India's soft power. I think if you look at some of these stats, it's pretty evident that, when you look at in 2022, top YouTube artists in the world in terms of number of streams, 7 out of the top 10 were Indian. If you look at songs, that the top songs of YouTube, again 7 of 10 were Indian. Indian content is currently being exported to 160 countries, and music is going along with all that content. So the kind of reach and popularity of Indian music, in no small measure helped by Natu Natu, winning, in the big awards, it's just becoming something that is so important from a marketing perspective for India as a country. And of course, when you look at our neighbors, there's not just India, but there's 7 other countries where Indian music is the most listened to on YouTube as well. So as we see the growth of digital media across the world, as we see global players like Netflix and Amazon and Spotify and YouTube coming into play, the potential for Indian music to grow more and more in the world in terms of consumption is just increasing year on year, and we don't expect this trend to stop anytime soon. In terms of rights, I think just a quick summary. When authors create works, there are publishing rights, and this report is largely focused on publishing the rights, which are the rights of lyricists and composers. And of course, then there's a sound recording made of the work when you have sound recording rights over there. The interesting thing is that while sound recording rights, which have been collected for the longest time, are now more than 3,000 crores in terms of revenues for the owners of the licenses, and it has made India the a number 15 market in the world in terms of revenue. However, when you look at publishing rights, we still lag behind. We're at number 23, and it's a much smaller market, less than one-third the size, at 884 crores. So publishing rights still need to catch up with sound recording rights the way they have across the rest of the world. When we did this study, I think something that we needed to do, because this is the first time ever, was a survey of music creators. And we actually went and got 500 music creators to fill a detailed survey. And some of the findings were very interesting. 83% of respondents who participated in the survey were creating music for more than 5 years, but only 60% of them could afford to do it full time. They were just not making adequate remuneration from it. For most of them, the number one source of remuneration was creating content for music labels and film producers, and then of course live performances and background scores. A lot of them were earning revenues on publishing, but they were very, very small as of right now, and that needs to grow. 73% of the respondents of the survey felt that they needed to learn more about music production, and they did not have adequate knowledge in that space, as well as 77% saying that they needed to learn better how to monetize their music. And that's where bodies like IPRS can play a very big role. And finally, very interesting that a third of all respondents said that they spent more than half their income on just equipment, software, and infrastructure, showing that the margins that were actually being generated, a lot of that was getting invested in actually infra and input costs for many creators. Now, when you look at publishing revenues in India, if you look at India, about 66% come from online players. But if you look at globally, it's 38% only that comes from online players. And if you look at television, radio, etc., they have a far larger share contributing to publishing revenues. And a lot of that is because in India, once the global players came in, they started signing publishing deals. But several other companies have still not signed the deals because the matter is sub judice. In some cases, the different points of view on whether publishing incomes apply or don't apply. And I'll come to a little more on that a little later. But it just shows a stark difference between India and the rest of the world. But having said that, it's a good start. At least we've started getting some monetization going now in this place. So when we went and interviewed a lot of people, they all believe that publishing will grow. IPRS believes that revenues could double by 26, 27, which is the next 4 years. But for that, I think there's 5 very important things need to happen. Firstly, I think music creators, the 40,000 creators, there's just 13,500 which have actually registered with collection agencies. Right, so there's still a lot. There's a need for awareness to be built within the creator ecosystem to actually get people to engage and register with IPRS. Secondly, once the creators register, they've got to start registering all their works as well. Again, we're seeing a lot of issues in terms of creators coming on board but not registering all their works, or issues with registration. And this is where really technology can play a huge role in terms of ensuring that all the works get registered. The third point is about the legal clarity. I mean, there are different points of view on whether IPRS and publishing rights per se are legal or not legal, to be paid, not to be paid. It's important that there's clarity achieved one way or the other on publishing rights, so that people know it's something that needs to be paid. And then, of course, a mechanism to get a fair price is delivered there. The fourth point is on compliance, that once there's legal clarity, then there's a mechanism that needs to be put in place, just like PPL has its mechanisms of collecting revenues whenever there's an event. A mechanism needs to be put in place where revenues can be collected from all the stakeholders. And it needs to be in a manner that's very simple, single windows, easy to do. And that will go a long way, again, in increasing the revenue and achieving this growth. And finally, of course, technology. There are almost 200 billion streams of music consumed in this country every year. And for each stream, identifying the authors, identifying the revenue associated with that stream, and making sure that the revenues are accurately allocated to all the constituent authors. I think there's going to be a huge play around technology to make this actually work. So I think that's it from my side. In summary, I think good start has been made. The industries come together. Legislation has come in place. Now it's all about ensuring clarity and then ensuring compliance in the long run. And with that, I'll hand it back to you, Rumpa, to take it forward.
Thank you, sir. It was an like wonderful kind of a like explanation, and you have very nicely like put across the key highlights of the findings. Um, and like frankly speaking, like while we are talking about the rise of music publishing in India, it is really encouraging to see the kind of participation also we are seeing on our page to understand the nuances of music publishing. Today we have like already have over 100 of participants joining us to understand how music publishing works in India. And as IPRS, we have already seen the kind of doubt and lack of understanding in terms of publishing royalties and how the publishing business works. So I'm very thankful to all of you for making time from your busy like schedule and joining us today to take us through the nuances of music publishing. I will now invite Mr. Achille Forler to share more about what is music publishing, what was the thought behind doing this study, and why is it so important. And before we go ahead, I would like to thank our media partner, AdGully. So AdGully had been nice enough and they have partnered with us in this initiative. And thanks to AdGully for making the noise and reaching out to everyone who could make more from this session. So over to you, Ashil, to kind of take us through it and make us understand more about music publishing.
Thank you very much, Rumpa. Thank you also, Ashish, for this. It's not only it's the first study on music publishing, and it gives a picture that I think very few people, even in the industry, were expecting to see. I'll just give a brief recap of what happened before this study came out, by a short history of the music publishing in India. I set up the first music publishing company in India in 1995. In those days, music rights were sold, music rights. There was no publishing right and master right. It was just music rights, which usually the film producer would produce the music and then sell to a music company to distribute. And the thought was that I have paid the lyricist, I have paid the composer, so why do they now come to bother me when I am exploiting my film or my sound recording? So it's like, I have bought the bag of potatoes from the farmer. And why is the farmer now asking royalties from me when I am making chips? That was the thinking. What is important to understand about publishing? Publishing is the lyrics and the tune. It's not the sound recording. It is the song as it exists, and therefore it has an immaterial existence. This song can be reproduced 100 times, sung by 100 different performers, recorded on 100 different labels. So there will be 100 different sound recordings, but there will always be the same song. And when we speak about publishing right, we do not sell publishing rights. We license a song. There is no transfer of ownership. So it is an intellectual property that is really the bedrock of the whole music industry. And it is in the last few years that, in the last 5 or 7 years, that everybody in the industry has come together and is, going in the same direction. And we have seen the the income from music publishing rise dramatically. It has gone from, I think, 2017, it was hardly less than 60 or 70 crores. And in 2022, it was almost 900 crores. And in the next few years, again, that is going to double. Because from this study, there are 3 points I would like to highlight. One is that Ashish mentioned it at the end of his presentation. It is registration. If you are not registered, if your song is not registered, you just cannot get money when your song is used. You have to register your song with the IPRS. It is the only body in India for registration of literary and musical works. So to become a member of IPRS first, second, to register correctly your songs. We call that the documentation. You need to have your documentation in order. No documentation, no money. That's point one. The second point is compliance. We have today almost 900 crores income in music publishing. When you look at the report on page 29, the chart on compliance, the compliance in India is 1.16% only. This 1.16% generate almost 900 crores. So you can imagine where we will be when this compliance will increase. We will never get to 100%, but going just from 1% to 3% will multiply by 3 our publishing income. There are still a few cases that are in the court, especially the radios. No radio has ever paid any money to the lyricists and the composers, which is a scandal. Although without music, nobody would even listen to radio. And yet radios have not paid 1 penny to the lyricists and the composers. But this case is now at the end of its life, and very soon, within a year or maybe 2 years maximum, we should get a decision. So compliance, the compliance is not by the small individuals, the people who pirate. They are not the ones who are taking our money. It is the big guys, it is the big corporations. So compliance in the next editions of this study, because I hope it is the first of more such studies on music publishing. I hope that Ernst & Young will come out, let's say, every 2 years with such a study. Page 29, the chart on compliance is the one that we will need to watch. How compliant the corporates of the country are going to be. The artists have nothing. There is no social security, no health coverage, no retirement benefits, no maternity leave. There is nothing because we are the composers, the lyricists, the artists, we are gig workers. And so it is, I'm happy that this issue has been addressed in a whole chapter, chapter 5, which I invite all of you to read, because there are countries who have implemented schemes. The scheme is not the same, it depends on the country, but I believe that in this country we need to invent a scheme that gives some basic social protection. It is not normal that in a democratic country, there are people who are working without any social protection whatsoever. So this is something that the associations of the lyricists, of the composers, of the singers, it's something of the painters, I mean, all the artists, photographers, is something they have to start discussing. And we have to find a way, because it exists in other countries. Other countries have implemented schemes. So there is no reason why we cannot implement such a scheme here. We have to start somewhere. It may not be the most ideal of scheme, but we have to start somewhere. So that chapter 5 alone, for me, it is a revolution. You see, there have been so many studies. Every year there are studies. FICI is doing study. IMI is doing study on every year for the last 20 years. But nobody has ever bothered about those who are the fountainheads of the music industry. How do they live? What do they do when they fall sick? What do they do when they have a child and they have to look after the child for 6 months or 9 months or 1 year? Nobody is asking those questions, has been asking those questions. So this study, for the first time, is putting this issue on the table. And it is now up to the artists to see that this issue will never be taken off the table, and that is starting to be discussed. And for that, they have to talk with their association, they have to talk with their copyright society. It's a talk that is worth starting. So these are the 3 points for me that are, which I feel really most important. One is documentation. Become a member of IPRS. Register properly each and every work of yours. Secondly, compliance. That, of course, you artists cannot do much, but at least don't go and perform with those companies who are not paying your society. Don't do them this favor. And third is your social security. So I think that was what I wanted to say. So it is now over, back to Rumpa ji.
So thank you, Achille. Like very strongly put out, some very relevant points. And yes, I think it's time that we look into the benefits and how the creator community can be like secured and protected more, not just in terms of their like royalties and copyright protection, but from other aspects also. Atul sir, one very interesting thing is like about our copyright law and the amendment of 2012, which actually laid the foundation of music publishing in India and made it a very strong ground to work on. So if you can like touch upon that before going into the details of the publishing study, and what all a creator needs to know in terms of his rights, which we always talk about, because that is the main foundation of a music publishing business. And one request, if you can please also say it in Hindi, because we are getting requests from our audience ki thoda agar Hindi mein we can understand. And so over to you, Atul sir.
Thanks, Rumpa. Like Achille said, I just have to support what he said about the importance of this report. It was very necessary. And for those who don't know, I think the forward, there are opening remarks from the Prime Minister's office and from the chairman of CSAC, who also happens to be a member of ABBA, one of the biggest pop groups ever on the planet. So that's the importance of the report. People have, taken note of it. And I think it's an eye-opener for everyone. Achille touched on a few points. And since, you were talking about the Copyright Act, इसमें कोई दो राय नहीं है कि बिना अमेंडमेंट के ये नहीं होने वाला था. And hats off to Javed Saab, Achille, the entire gang of composers lyricists who got together and drove this. So the other day someone was asking me कि ये कैसा है, what do you think about the act, the way it's written, etc. So laws are laws. I think Achille went to great pains to explain compliance is the problem. और ये हमने बहुत देखा है. It's not just with copyright law. It's with all laws. You have income tax laws. How many people pay income tax? So we do have these challenges. पर ये समझना जरूरी है कि जहाँ ये रिकॉर्डिंग बजती है आपकी, कंपोजर और ऑथर को पैसा मिलना चाहिए. इट्स अ वेरी सिंपल थिंग. उस दिन मैं एक वर्कशॉप कर रहा था. कंपोजर्स, सिंगर्स, कंपोजर्स सारे थे कमरे में. तो मैंने पूछा सिंगर्स कितने हैं कमरे में. एवरीबॉडी ऑलमोस्ट रेज देयर हैंड्स. तो मैंने कहा आप एक ऐसा गाना गाओ जो कभी कंपोज ही नहीं हुआ. You see, Ashil made the point. I mean, that's the whole thing. You have songs, recordings, and recordings and recordings of songs. But it's really the creators who are important. And if we are not protecting and investing in the creators, वो लोग क्या करेंगे? Mostly composers and authors are not performers. वो नहीं जाते हैं स्टेज पे. तो उनका जीने का साधन क्या है? उनकी रॉयल्टीज हैं. अभी बात हो रही थी रेडियो की, द केसेस दैट आर इन कोर्ट. उस दिन मैंने एक पॉइंट रेज किया था कि जो रेडियो का केस चल रहा है, और हमारे देश में करीबन 400 रेडियो स्टेशन हैं, 16 साल से ये केस कोर्ट में चल रहा है. हमने सोचा शायद 2023 में एडजुडिकेट हो जाएगा और 24 में आ जाएगा. अब फिर से ये शुरू हो गया है. सो हाउ मेनी कंपोजर्स हैव डाइड in these 16 years without getting their just royalties? When I say composers, I'm talking about composers and authors. इनको इनकी ड्यू रॉयल्टीज नहीं मिली हैं. So, you can write laws. Laws are good, but it's the implementation of the law. On one hand, there's compliance. On the other hand, there is challenge. और ये जो चैलेंज होता है ये कोर्ट में जाता है. तो मेरा एक सुझाव है जो मैं पहली बार पब्लिक में बोल रहा हूँ इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे. हमारा जब कॉपीराइट अमेंडमेंट आएगा, इनफैक्ट इट्स नॉट इवन रिक्वायर्ड इन द कॉपीराइट अमेंडमेंट, आई थिंक एज एन इंडस्ट्री वी हैव टू मूव द गवर्नमेंट टू रीइंस्टेट द कॉपीराइट बोर्ड. और ये एक ऐसा ट्राइब्यूनल है जो हर कॉपीराइट मैटर पे एडजुडिकेट करेगा. If you say that all copyright matters go before the copyright board and not to a court of law, you will get much faster results. You'll get faster orders, and you'll be able to resolve issues. ये 16 साल कोर्ट में केस चल रहा है. It makes no sense. फिर कोई साइड जीतेगा, फिर अपील में जाएगा. So it should be very clear. The government should listen to us as an industry. Yes, it is a tribunal. They have removed all tribunals. लेकिन आप एक copyright board बनाओ. इसके 3 sitting members होते हैं. They're permanent members. They're ex-judges of Supreme Courts and High Courts. उनका काम सिर्फ copyright adjudicate करना है. And if you have a dedicated copyright board, the burden on the courts of having cases filed also comes down. So it's beneficial in many ways. You get quick results. There are people who are specialists on copyright who are adjudicating copyright, and you're relieving the courts of the burdens. So if you are able to get compliance in, and the report, Ashish, God bless him, has projected a very nice 1700 crores coming in. I'm far more bullish about it. मैं तो कहता हूँ ये इंडस्ट्री अगले 2-3 साल में 10,000 करोड़ होनी चाहिए. Because the number of establishments who are not paying, radio is not paying, television is not paying, the platforms are not paying, as Achille mentioned. So बात ये है कि पब्लिशिंग का पैसा फिर कहाँ से आ रहा है. एंड हैट्स ऑफ टू IPRS जो 550-560 करोड़ कलेक्ट कर सका ऐसे सिचुएशन में. And as they pointed out also, look at the potential. If everybody starts paying, the potential is gigantic. So we have to look at it as possibly, I think Achille mentioned soft power also, and it's very important because I've had conversations with international publishers. People want to invest in India, लेकिन उनका पूछना ये है कि अगर हम आज इन्वेस्ट करेंगे, हमें कितनी देर वेट करना पड़ेगा for your compliance to happen ताकि हमारी रिकवरी हो जाए. हम 10-10, 15-15 साल तो कोई नहीं वेट करने वाला ना. So you have to look at it from an overall picture also. And Blaise Fernandez from IMI also keeps saying this, कि investment recorded music side पे आती है because it's more organized, because people are more compliant. It's a question of understanding intellectual property. And I'm going to, I always like to exaggerate a point to make a point. So the way music is treated, the way intellectual property is treated, we need a complete reorientation. तो एक चीज पूछता हूं, मैंने कभी टेस्ला गाड़ी चलाई नहीं है, बहुत लोगों ने नहीं चलाई. Do you think it's a good business to start a streaming platform or start a subscription platform जहां मैं बोलता हूं देखिए आप मुझे महीने के 100 रुपए दे दीजिए, I'll let you drive a Tesla car whenever you want, wherever you want. You just pay me 100 rupees a month. And I tell Elon Musk, Mr. Musk, वो जो सब्सक्रिप्शन का पैसा आएगा उसमें से मैं काट के आपको थोड़ा पैसा दूंगा for the use of the car. People will laugh at me. They'll say क्या पता नहीं पागल है. Why? Because the car is perceived to be very expensive. भाई उसमें मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कॉस्ट है, उसमें रॉ मटेरियल लगता है, उसमें टेक्नोलॉजी लगती है. So it's a very expensive thing. How can you just give it like that? Okay. I have a question. How many Teslas has Elon Musk made? मेरे हिसाब से उन्होंने एक गाड़ी बनाई है और उसकी वेरिएशंस बनाई हैं. Much in the way that R.D. Burman created a song and then you make remixes of it. R.D. Burman created thousands of songs. So isn't he a greater creator than Elon Musk? If I say it like this, you say how ridiculous is your argument. But the fact is, and Achille mentioned gig workers, you mentioned 60% musicians cannot, only 60% musicians can live off music because you don't take it seriously कि इन लोगों को पैसा देना पड़ता है. If you have to create a song, you bring a musician into the studio, you start haggling straight away, 500 रुपए दूंगा, 1000 रुपए दूंगा, because you don't take it seriously. If you were to take it as seriously as you took physical property, you'd start equating it. Our whole orientation on intellectual property is wrong. Music can be given as background, it can be given free, it can be not paid for. गाड़ी नहीं चोरी कर सकते, क्यों? गाड़ी तो एक्सपेंसिव चीज है. This is wrong orientation. This is wrong thinking. हमको अपनी समझ बदलनी होगी. We have to respect creators. The composers, the lyric writers are creating something. And the other thing is, ठीक है, आपकी गाड़ी जो है, आप गाड़ी कितने साल चलाओगे? 5 साल चलाओगे, 10 साल चलाओगे, 20 साल चलाओगे. आप एक गाना इन कॉपीराइट 60 साल चलाओगे. क्रिएटर का जो है is 60 years after his death. देखिए, look at the life of the song and look at the life of a car. Yet to us, the car is expensive and valuable. The music has no value. We can give it free. So these are things we have to understand. Once you start ascribing value to it, once you understand value, you start paying for it. People who are using the music, वो IPRS का license ले. My contention is that the public performance industry is a 10,000 crore industry. जब ये कोविड हुआ था, the hotels, the Federation of Hotels and Restaurants, they went to the government. They said, we have 4 million establishments in the organized sector and 2.3 crores, 23 million in the unorganized sector who need support. Their numbers, not the music industry's numbers. That means 27 million establishments. And you can be sure, ये जो 2.3 crores हैं, 23 million है, let's call them dhabas. हर ढाबे में म्यूजिक बजता है. पुराने दिनों में ट्रांजिस्टर पे बजता था, आजकल मोबाइल फोन पे चलता है, लैपटॉप पे चलता है, किसी चीज पे चलता है, right? If you went to each of these dhabas and collected 100 rupees, 200 rupees, 500 rupees a year, look at the value of the public performance you'd collect. And then let's come down to, the 4 million establishments, plus the shops, plus so many other offices, etc., that play music. So the potential is gigantic. But we have to get our compliance in order. We have to get the investments in. See, once compliance comes in, फिर investment भी उसके पीछे आएगी. एक बार investment आई, वो investment कहाँ जाएगी? Investment will come into publishing companies. It will come into production companies. कल मैं जस्टिन उदय के साथ बैठा हुआ था. मैं यही बोल रहा था कि you build a brand. Today, someone will come and start investing. they'll invest in creativity. Of course they will, because that's the source of the revenue for the music industry. So the creative fields would start getting invested in, so that even the social security that Achille is talking about, which is so necessary today, it actually goes back in priority because you're making enough money off your music, which you're supposed to. So that's my contention. I think, we have to, as an industry, we have to now gear up. And one thing I must say, ये जो government है हमारी, it's very proactive. So they've got some thinking. And obviously the government cannot understand the music business. इसकी समझ हम लोगों को है. और हमने interact भी बहुत किया है, लेकिन समझाना बहुत जरूरी है. Ashil and Ashish both mentioned education. So it's education of the masses, it's education of the users, and it's education of the government. अगर हम government को, if we can engage this government, which is keen to engage with us, अगर हम इनको सही रास्ता बता सकें, we can't tell them problems. We have to go with the solution. You tell them the solution, I think they are more than willing to participate. So we have to now look at the law, look at how we can get compliance with the law. So that's my contention. It'll take a little bit of time, but if we have enough feet on street working this from the government angle, working it from the, like I said, if you have a copyright tribunal, a copyright board, which is taking the pressure off the courts, getting quicker judgments, your compliances will happen, your laws will change, and it's a massive, massive industry. India is a focal point now. People want to invest. Get it right, and we'll be huge. Sorry, Rumpa, I don't know whether I answered what you asked me to.
No, you're very right that our government is very proactive, and like wherever I've spoken to people across the globe, they have all praised about our copyright law, which is so well framed for the rights and benefits of the creators. Now the question lies in proper enforcement of this law, because there is a concern of buyouts, which other like the creators of other communities and others like other countries are facing. But our creators are
So,
protected.
Rupa, sorry, I want to interrupt you there.
Yeah.
So we also have something in the law which is a protection, but it's also a hindrance, in the sense that if you look at what's happening globally, there are investment companies coming in. So let's say people like Primary Wave, they've already invested in Times Music in India, right? A Primary Wave wants to buy out the royalties of, let's say, an R.D. Burman. I don't think our law allows it today. Whereas it could be beneficial for the estate of R.D. Burman to actually sell that. So there has to be a thinking in this. Yes, protection is important. And, Achille was very much part of the conversation which mandated that royalties have to go either to the composer author or to the society, so that people don't hijack royalties, which I fully comply. I mean, I fully agree with that. That compliance is very necessary. But there is also the other side to look at. So if the estates of people who are deceased are willing to forego those royalties, it could be something for consideration, because that will also improve investment. And, we've been talking about keeping legacies alive. How do you keep legacies alive? Today, our greatest music was, created by Jaydev. Lyrics were created by Majru Saab, etc. How do you keep their legacies going? It requires investment. It requires constant promotion, which cannot happen from families who are then now dependent on royalties for survival.
Right. So this is another chapter, maybe the phase 2 of our publishing study will delve into. Currently, we have the primary issues which we now have started to question and find a solve. एक चीज और एक जो क्वेश्चन हमारे पास आ रहा है, that अभी हम लोग देख रहे हैं कि in the last few years since COVID, independent music has taken a front seat. So has the music publishing gained prominence with the rise of independent music, or how the music publishing business in India is shaping on account of the rise of independent music?
See, it goes hand in hand, because as Achille was explaining, we have actually been historically a music label industry, right? So there was only one entity. It was Saregama, HME back in the day. And they were the only music entity. So they used to take all the rights. And then as companies developed, they followed that same formula. What happens with independent music is that the artist owns the recording. There's no music label involved. So he's the rights holder. He understands, distribution, promotion, etc. He's not very sure about publishing, which is how publishers will come in. So Achille is a publisher, Turnkey, my company, is a publisher. Anara Music has set up, they are publishers. They're standalone publishers. And the good thing is that Sony Music Publishing has come in and established. And now they are controlling the underlying works to the Sony Music label, which means that publishing, and like happens globally with Sony and the others. So publishing and label are separate because they are separate. It's a separate mindset. So I'm so happy that this has happened, and I hope the others also follow because that will help us develop the market. And
Okay.
it is thanks to independent music because these people will sign independence.
True. So one more question I had from the perspective of independent music. Suppose when like I associate with the label, so I am kind of appointed as a like a lyricist or a composer, and I'm working with the label to kind of make the song. But when I'm an independent artist, when I've made the song, जब पहले मैंने गाना बनाया, the lyrics and composition, everything is mine. I am owning it, right? But then I go and I kind of appoint or I join a music publisher like say Turnkey or Silk Road. So then what happens to my like my lyrics and the composition and how the music publishing works for me? Do I sign off the rights of my or what is the arrangement with the publisher for me?
Ashil's back. Come on, let Ashil answer that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. See, publishing, you can have, it depends on person to person. Some persons are very good artists and are very bad in business. So it is better to tie up with a business person, a business company, like a publisher, who then takes, not only does everything for you from the business perspective, but also invests in you. One, if you are a songwriter who is also a performer, then it is, you can have your own small team of people who help you, a digital marketing person, because you see what the revolution that has happened in the music industry is that before you had to get a CD into the market. That means it had to be manufactured, put in a warehousing, transported, taking back the unsold. You had no option but go through a music label. Today, you go on Spotify, you go on all the digital distribution services anywhere in the world by going through Believe or going through TuneCore or whichever. And your success on Spotify, on Amazon, and Apple does no more depend on the amount of money that the label is spending. You cannot bribe the algorithms. It is the algorithms who are deciding. That means it is the users, the listeners who are deciding what is going to become a hit, what is going maybe not to become a hit, but will get a faithful following of having 500,000 regular listeners. You cannot influence Spotify, the algorithms of Spotify or of Apple. But you still need, when you create something of value, let's say you own a house or you own a flat, you still go to an agency who will look after your flat, who will find your tenants, who will collect the monthly rent, who will see that all the problems associated with the flat, they are handling it. You have a total peace of mind. So joining a publisher, having a publisher is peace of mind. Somebody wants a license, you need to go through the paperwork. You need a lawyer to make a license. So all these publishers, it is their job. It is what we do from morning to evening. we license, we try to promote your work. And as far as distribution is concerned, you can do it yourself. Just go put your music on through, as I said, TuneCore or any of these digital aggregators who will then distribute it to all the digital services in the world. But music publishing is the heart of the music business. It is, if somebody wants to make a version of your song, they like your song, they want to make a Japanese version, who is going to do the paperwork? Who is going to track the usage? Who is going to collect, to ensure that the royalties are collected? It's not your job as a lyricist or as a composer to do that. That is why you join a music publisher. This is the job of the music publisher. So I feel that we are today in a world where if you are a good artist, you can do everything on your own and just have a publisher. I give you the example. I represent David Guetta in India, Armin van Buuren, and others. David Guetta has a team of 7 people who work full-time for him. But the publishing he has given to a publisher. So the publisher is really at the heart of the business. And when you look in the societies, who represents the publishing rights in India? It is IPRS. Look at the income of IPRS, how it is growing everywhere. Today, IPRS is the biggest copyright society in India, by far. And it's going to become even bigger and bigger. So become a member of IPRS. If you see that your music has traction, is getting listenership, go to a music publisher. And the law in India is very clear. Music publishing is 50-50. 50% for the artists, for the creators, 50% for the publishing. And one last and most important point about the 2012 copyright law amendments is that if you do a deal with a publisher in India, and that means for the world, the publisher cannot collect your money. He can only collect his share. But by collecting his share, he makes sure that your share comes to you. So the publisher will never be able to take your money and then have to pay you. Your money will come through the CSAC network globally, and then it will come to IPRS, and you will get the money from IPRS. The only case where the publisher is collecting your is when there is a synchronization deal, a sync deal for an advertisement. And so there the publisher collects and then pays half of it to you. But the publisher is the key, the publisher and the Copyright Society, IPRS, these are the 2 key institutions of the music industry today in India.
So because like we have you and Atul sir also today here. So one question we often hear from like a lot of independent artists, unke liye when they are like distributing their music like through their distributors and they're like earning from they get their royalties from their distributors, many are not aware. And I think 90% of them think that I am getting my royalties. But today, as we are speaking about music publishing, and here it's not just about the findings of the study that we have done, it's also a platform to educate people about the nuances of music publishing. So there are royalties which are made on account of the music publishing, and it is credited to the underlying works. So if you and Atul sir can quickly highlight or touch upon that, the kind of royalties that get generated because of the underlying works, the lyrics and the composition, the performing, like already you mentioned about sync royalties.
I will be very brief and then I let Atul expand. where the music publisher is not only the one who collects the royalties, he's the one who also promotes your work, because he's part of a global network of music publishers. Either his company is global, or he has music publishers in every part of the world who are what we call the sub-publishers. And let's say you have a song, and in Korea, if we feel that this is a song that might be working in South Korea, we alert our sub-publisher in South Korea and say, look, listen to this song. We think it's working in your market. Send it to the advertising agencies to get a sync deal or to get send it to some producers or some other publishers who feel that, oh, we should make a Korean version of this Indian song. This is what a music publisher does. He takes your song and makes it bigger. But for that, the song has to be good. If you want to make it bigger, you see, it's like a photograph. If the photo is very sharp, you can blow it up and you can make a very big photo on the screen. But if the photo is very poor, if you blow it up, it will not look good. So if the song is good, you can... I'll just give you one example to make you understand what music publishing is about. You all have seen Casa del Papel on Netflix. Okay, Money Heist, it's called in English. There is that song, that Italian song, which suddenly has become very popular. Now, this song is a very old song. It has been lying with a publisher whom I represent. It has been lying for ages, I think about 20 years. But when they made Casa del Papel, and they needed, they told, usually the film producers, they give information to the music publisher. We are looking for this, we are looking for that. I am getting every day requests, music for this. So that publisher sent it to the producers of Casa del Papel. And that song has become, a global hit after 20 years. So you don't know, what the destiny of a song can be, but you need somebody to work your songs. Atul, you want to add?
Yeah, so the basics, I think, Rumpa, you asked royalty कहाँ से आती है, तो दो चीजें आपको समझनी पड़ेंगी. जो कंपोजर ऑथर होता है वो एक पब्लिशर के साथ साइन करता है, जो अशील अभी बोल रहा था. कंपोजर ऑथर साइन विद द पब्लिशर. जो आपके सिंगर परफॉर्मर म्यूजिशियंस होते हैं, दे साइन विद द रिकॉर्ड लेबल. तो ये दो अलग अलग टैक्स हैं. लेबल का काम रिकॉर्डिंग के साथ है, सिंगर के साथ है, परफॉर्मर के साथ है. पब्लिशर का काम कंपोजर और लिरिक राइटर के साथ है. और अगर आप लॉजिकली सोचें कि ये राइट्स है क्या, 6 राइट्स हैं, कुछ ज़्यादा सोचने वाली बात नहीं है. और हर 6 राइट से कंपोजर ऑथर को पैसा मिलना चाहिए. पहली बात है कि एक गाना है, गाना बनाना है. कैसे गाना बनाएंगे? जावेद साहब बैठते हैं अनु मालिक के साथ एक कमरे में, जावेद साहब लिरिक्स करते हैं, अनु मालिक कॉम्पोजिशन करता है, और नदिया पंछी गाना बन जाता है. ठीक है. अब वो गाना एक तीसरे आदमी को सुनाने के लिए उसकी रिकॉर्डिंग करनी पड़ती है. तो जो पहला कॉपीराइट है, तो आप सोनू निगम को बुलाएंगे, अलका याग्निक को बुलाएंगे, स्टूडियो जाएंगे, एक रिकॉर्डिंग करेंगे. तो पहला कॉपीराइट हुआ आपका पब्लिशिंग का रिकॉर्डिंग राइट. वो गाना आज रिकॉर्ड होगा, कल रिकॉर्ड होगा, 30 साल के बाद रिकॉर्ड होगा, फिर तनिष्क बागची आके एक और रिकॉर्डिंग करेगा. ठीक है. तो आपके एक पहला जो राइट है वो रिकॉर्डिंग राइट है और री रिकॉर्डिंग राइट है. दूसरा, जब आपकी रिकॉर्डिंग बन गई तो ये जो लेबल है इसके पास रिकॉर्डिंग आ गई. तो रिकॉर्डिंग को बेचने के लिए पुराने दिनों में कैसेट सीडी और एलपी बनाते, कैसेट सीडी एलपी बना के उनको कॉपीज बना के बाहर बेचते थे. आज वो एक फाइल बन गई है आपके कंप्यूटर पे, वो आप बेचते हो, गाना, सावन, विंक, स्पॉटिफाई वगैरह को. ठीक है. तो वो बात वही है, आपने उसको रिप्रोड्यूस किया है. तो यहाँ पे रिकॉर्डिंग को रिप्रोड्यूस किया है, यहाँ पे अंडरलाइन कॉम्पोजिशन लिरिक्स को रिप्रोड्यूस करें क्योंकि वो रिकॉर्डिंग के अंदर बैठे हैं। जब भी रिकॉर्डिंग इस्तेमाल होगी, अंडरलाइन वर्क्स को इस्तेमाल होना पड़ेगा। ये बैंगन है, ये भरता है, भरता खाओगे तो बैंगन को खाना ही पड़ेगा। ठीक है, तो आपकी जो सेकंड राइट है वो हो गई रिप्रोडक्शन राइट। आप क्या कर रहे हो, आप बेच रहे हो उसको। पुराने दिनों में दुकानों में बेचते थे, आज स्पॉटिफाई एप्पल वगैरह पे हम स्ट्रीमिंग के लिए दे देते हैं और वो लोग सब्सक्राइबर्स को अलाउ करते हैं स्ट्रीम करने के लिए। तो एक वो सेल एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन हो गया, वही राइट है। फिर वो रेडियो पे बजता है, टीवी पे बजता है, दुकानों में बजता है। व्हाट वी वर टॉकिंग अबाउट 23 मिलियन एस्टैब्लिशमेंट्स एटसेट्रा, दे प्लेइंग म्यूजिक, radio is playing music, television is playing music, so it is a public performance। जब एक प्लेटफॉर्म से बहुत लोगों को गाना सुनाई दे, वो ब्रॉडकास्ट कहते हैं, पब्लिक परफॉर्मेंस कहते हैं। तो आपका राइट रिकॉर्डिंग में भी, कॉम्पोजिशन लिरिक्स में भी पब्लिक परफॉर्मेंस है। कॉम्पोजिशन में एक और चीज है कि आप एक गाना बनाते हैं, फिर वो गाना जाता है किसी पिक्चर में, किसी एड फिल्म में, किसी डॉक्यूमेंट्री फिल्म में, तो आप उसको सिंक्रोनाइज कर रहे हैं। वो रिकॉर्डिंग के साइड पे आप उसको ऑडियो विजुअल में सिंक्रोनाइज कर सकते हो, या किसी और रिकॉर्डिंग के अंदर आप सैंपल कर सकते हो। डीजेस बहुत सैंपल करते हैं, प्रोड्यूसर बहुत सैंपल करते हैं। सो यू कैन पुट द रिकॉर्डिंग इन अनदर रिकॉर्डिंग, दैट कुड बी ऑडियो विजुअल रिकॉर्डिंग और अनदर ऑडियो रिकॉर्डिंग। ये आपके राइट्स हैं म्यूजिक लेबल के। कॉम्पोजिशन के साइड पे अशील अभी कह रहे थे ना, आप उसको किसी और लैंग्वेज में कर सकते हो, कोरियन में कर सकते हो, तो वो हो गया एक ट्रांसलेशन। और कभी कभी आप कॉम्पोजिशन चेंज करोगे, उसके बीच में रैप डालोगे वगैरह वगैरह, उसको एन अडेप्टेशन बोलते हैं। एंड दैट इज योर सेट ऑफ कॉपीराइट्स। व्हेन एवर एनीवन यूजेस द म्यूजिक, ही हैज टू यूज वन और मोर ऑफ दीज राइट्स। और जब भी ये राइट्स यूज होते हैं, उसकी एक रॉयल्टी जाती है टू द पब्लिशर, टू द कंपोजर, टू द ऑथर। सो दैट इज हाउ कंपोजर, ऑथर्स, पब्लिशर्स मेक मनी। एंड जैसे अशील कह रहे थे, रूपा कह रहे थे, एक 50-50 होता है। पब्लिशर को आधा मिलता है, कंपोजर ऑथर को आधा मिलता है। दैट्स द वे पब्लिशिंग बिजनेस मनीज आर मेड। रूपा, होप दैट वाज क्लियर।
Yes, it is. It is kind of now crystal clear. बहुत ही अच्छा. And I think that music industry is very fascinating because you make one thing, and for independent artists more, because you're making one song and you're earning twice. I don't. I would hope that I get my royalties also, like my salaries also twice for two different. But unfortunately, that many of the artists today are not aware because they think मुझे तो पैसा मिल गया. Why again? What money यार? Or will, and also one more interesting thing, observation, which I hear is that if I get the royalties from IPRS, then will my royalties from my distributor stop?
Correct.
So would you like to add to
They're
that?
two separate businesses. This is the sound recording business, which is distribution business for your sound recording. This is composition lyric. Ashila was smiling. He wants to say something.
Yeah. No, I just want to say that, yes, there was a time where you would never see your royalties. That time is gone. It's over and it will never come back. Today, whatever royalties are due to you, you will be getting not only from in the country, from within the country, but from all over the world. Royalties are the salary of the lyricist and the composer. And we, as you see the income of IPRS going, there is also in the figures that was shown by Ashish from Ernst & Young, IPRS income is one, but then there is the publishing income, and both are growing and growing. So royalties are your salary. And the copyright amendments in 2012, which we must again remind everybody that these amendments were voted unanimously by Congress, by BJP, by CPM, everybody. There was not one member of parliament who abstained. It was a miracle. And it shows how much the government, past government and the present government, how much they have been supporting the creative industries. And let me tell you one final thing on this point, that what the Indian Copyright Act says, it says in so many words, you can sign whatever agreement you want. 50% of all the income from all over the world has to be paid to you. We don't care what agreement you are signing. Now, this strong protection in the Copyright Act, there are very few countries in the world where it exists. India is a leading country in this part. It essentially says that you don't have to negotiate now with the Netflix, with the whoever. 50% has to be paid to you. And that 50%, it's not only from within the country, but it is from the income all over the world. So royalties are your salaries, and the salary of the lyricist and composer is going to grow and grow and grow in the coming years. But for that, you have to join IPRS. You have to register your works. You have to get a music publisher on your side. Because there is still a lot of work that we have to do. There is no way, there is no escape for them. Sooner or later, it may take another year or 2 years or 3 years, but sooner or later, all of them will have to pay. And I can tell you that, and Atul will certainly agree with what I say, the government itself is pushing in that direction. So good times are ahead for the lyricists and the composers and the artists of this country. One more point, which is not part of this study, but I think we should make, because all of you, whether you are lyricists or composers, you are working with singers. You are working with studio musicians. And you all know what is the situation of studio musicians. And what has happened last year? The government has convinced the industry that you have to pay not only the singers, but you have also to pay the studio musicians royalties. And this is now done. Payments have started. So we are going in a very good direction. And we need everybody now, we have to come together in association, because there are so many issues that are still, we have to tackle. We spoke about social protection, but in the study which Ashish mentioned, what do they say? The lyricists and the composers who have been asked by Ernst & Young, what do they say? They say we need to learn more about music production. Where do you learn? Where are the schools? We need to learn more about how the music industry works. This is what IPRS is doing now, and IPRS has been holding camps all over India, including Dimapur in Assam, all over the country. And we'll continue, Rumpa will continue to hold those camps. Yes, you have to learn. If you are a professional, you have to learn about your profession. But we do not have conservatories in the country like Berkeley School of Music. It is not yet there. We have very few schools. A.R. Rahman has one in Chennai. There is the School of Music in Bombay. Teaching of music still needs to be improved. So there are many issues which, if you read the report, you will see what all the issues that there are. So there is a lot that we have to do, but we have all now to sit together and work in the same direction.
Right. And the report is available on IPRS website. So if we could kind of raise any interest on the study, please sign in to our website and IPRS website, and you can kind of quickly read the entire findings.
Let this report be translated in Hindi and in Tamil, at least in 2 other languages. Because many of the listeners you mentioned, those who are listening to us, because if we speak in Hindi, then there are others who don't understand. But at least let us translate the report and issue at least 2 or maybe 3 different versions. I know it's going to cost a little bit of money, but it's an effort that we, IPRS as a society, I think should do.
No, I think it's a very good suggestion, and we'll surely, like, we're making a note of it. And yes, yeah, because like many a times we have a lot of information, but because of the language barrier, it's not comprehensible enough. And it's a very good suggestion from you. So we will be ending the session in the next 5-10 minutes max. So if you have any questions, you can quickly type in the chat box, and we'll be happy to answer. In the meantime, we have got one question from our listener. Um, it's a wide, it is a widely believed and shared view that playlists play a huge role in the reach and impressions of any song. The playlist editors look at each creator with a filter of followers and total monthly streams. How can a new publisher then get the right audience if there exist filters like this? Open to both of you. In how, like, how would you like to answer this?
Achille, go ahead.
Yes, good question. Well, playlists, they do play a role, but they are not the only ones. When you have a song, this song has to be performed. You have to get local following. I mean, if you are in Kolhapur, see that this song that is performed in Kolhapur, that you have a local following. And then the people from Kolhapur are going to listen on Spotify or whichever streaming service. And you need to establish a local base. I would say the wrong way is to say that I'm going to make a song and it's going to be popular all over the world. No, even the biggest artist today is no more popular all over the world. If you look at the top 50 of Spotify, I mean, when I look at it, I don't even know one name, and these names are totally different every 3 months.
Yep.
So it is your local roots. You have to be popular where you are. And that is how you have to build. And as a publisher, I don't sign anybody who doesn't have roots. If you are not performed, if your songs are not performed, if nobody likes them, no singer sings them, even, I don't care, you perform them in a restaurant or wherever, at least they have to be performed. People have to listen and say, oh, this is a nice song, let me listen to it on the streaming service. So you have to do the work. Afterwards, the streaming, the playlists, I shouldn't say it, but I have witnessed heads of music labels, calling up a guy in a streaming service, say, put this song on the playlist, put this song on the playlist. And but the person who makes the playlist, he has his own guidelines. He cannot do what he wants. Spotify, Apple, they have all their own inner guidelines. So, as I said in the beginning, you cannot bribe the algorithm. And this is fantastic news, because it means that if you are, wherever you are, you may be living in a village with no road access, but you have equal chance to the one who lives in Bandra or in Nizamuddin. So it's a new world, and you have to try your best, but there is no formula.
Correct. Correct. In fact, Achille, you said it when you were making your statements first. You said it's about the song. If you have a good song will always work, so they will find it, the algorithms will find it, the people who are playlisting will find it. So focus on creating better music, not about getting more followers on Instagram. That's not, it's a marketing thing. Today it's Instagram, tomorrow it'll be something else. But a good song is a good song is a good song forever.
Yeah.
Right. There is one.
And without a good song, you can have the greatest singers. If the song is not good, he cannot make a success out of it.
Correct.
There's a question which I think might interest Atul sir and Achille, you both. That there's a question that if a publisher is based out of India, is not based in India, how does he collect from India? Is there a way to collect from India?
Yeah, so see, there are collection societies in every country, right? And they are interlinked. They have a reciprocal arrangement. So wherever the member is signed, the societies remit that money to him. So I mean, IPRS is getting money from Japan, from Korea, from many countries. You don't have to be a member of all those societies. You just sign with IPRS and the reciprocal agreements, and that is where data is so important. Ashil touched on it earlier, and someone was asking about AI, etc. I find it very strange when people say they don't have time to fill in 8 columns and say what the song is and who sung it and what's the big deal. If you don't put that in place, that's the foundation to your building. How are you going to start constructing it?
To people who say this, you tell them, I mean, if you have a flat, I want to be your tenant. Because I can live in your tenant without an agreement with you, and then we will see how you'll get me out of it. I mean, come on, it's your profession. Do your job. If you don't do your job, get another profession.
So
there are so many professions available.
Ashil, the 3 M's of music: mixing, mastering, and metadata.
And we should hold a separate session on metadata, because music publishing is nothing without clean and proper metadata. And because we are talking about publishing, if you would like to quickly touch upon ISWC, because ISRC is now quite familiar. People are kind of like asking for ISRC numbers. Yeah.
I don't think it's something that should be discussed now, because these are technical terms. The point is the ISWC is not generated by the lyricist or the composer. Publishers now can do it, but it's very new. It used to be only the societies. So these are all, you see, this is the back-end kitchen. Happening in the kitchen, we should, it's, a lyricist, a composer, what they want is they have a car, they want to drive it. What is happening under the hood and how, that's not, they should not bother about this. It's not important. The thing, what is important is, what is the title of the song? Who is the lyricist? Who are the composers? How much share each one has? Who is the publisher if you have a publisher? Yeah, and what is the ISRC if you have a sound recording? But ISRC is the sound recording. It's not the publishing. So it's not important. But what is important now, and this I think is another I don't know why I forgot it. It's a very important point, is that today when you work in the studio and you work with musicians who are recording the song, take the name of the musicians. Who is the drummer? Who is the bassist? Who is the guitarist? Because these people now are going to get royalties from the master, not from the publisher, but from the master, from PPL. They are now going, 25% of all income of PPL is now going to the singers and the studio musicians. So it is very important to keep track. Who are the names? Keep the names of these people. And these people have to join the, is it called now? They just
ISAMRA.
ISAMRA Society, so that they can get a ISN number. But that's something different. It's not for us, but at least the lyricists and composers, because usually they are present in the studio, they have to tell your musician friends, become a member of ISAMRA, get your global ID number so that you can get royalties. And mind you, these royalties which they will get, it's not taken from your money. It's taken for the users of the master rights. So it's not money that is taken out of your pocket or out of my pocket as a music publisher. It's taken out of the pocket of those who pay for the public performance of the sound recording. But tell your friends that they have to become members of ISAMRA.
Very true. And, just to add to that, Achille, now, although they don't get royalties, engineers are also studio engineers are getting IPN numbers so that they're credited correctly. Otherwise, no credits were going in.
Yeah.
Even that is coming down. Also,
Yes,
when you put the data in,
but look,
start putting the engineer's name in.
yeah, but you see, it's nice. I mean, I would
It's nice
say
to do.
it's a
nice.
courtesy. It's a courtesy. But again, we are talking business. They don't get any money out of that.
I
So
don't make
it's
money.
just that
You
they
make
have
money, so you
they have
talk
the
business.
pleasure to see that their name is there. So yes, their name should be there if they contributed, but as you say, they will not get any royalties. So let's focus on really those who will lose out on money if they don't become a member of ISAMRA.
Fair. Rupa, what else?
Yeah, so there's one last question here that, like, if I translate the lyrics, so will I get the credit as a lyricist? So I think, yeah, Atul sir, you would like to answer, or you will scold because after so much of discussion.
No, that's fine. So, so it depends. People misunderstand. So there are some lyrics that are translated, and there are some that are rewritten in a different language. So if you're rewriting in a different language, then you become the prime lyricist.
No, sorry, I don't understand, because when you translate, it is also in another language.
Yeah, when you translate, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So just to make it clear, one is the translation, say word for word, and the other is a transcreation, where you
correct.
change, you don't use the original lyrics, you create something totally new.
Correct.
Yes? Okay.
Correct. So in that case, you become the prime lyric writer. If it's a new lyric completely. If it's a translation, then, they were called what, actually? Transliterators.
Translator.
Translators,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So you didn't have equal rights, but I think you did get a royalty.
Well, I must say that it's an issue that differs from country to country.
And also, I think these are agreements with each other. Publishing agreement.
Yeah, yes, of course, yes.
It's a negotiation, really.
Yeah, it's a negotiation. There is a very famous example in the Polanka way. Most people who listen to us will know the song My Way. Now, the original is a French song.
Correct.
And Polanka totally changed the lyrics. It has no connection with the original lyrics. And because he was also famous, Polanka, so he imposed full ownership of the lyrics, so 50%. So the original lyric writers has no share in that. 50%, lyrics 50% go to Polanka for My Way. But usually it's a negotiation. If the original lyricist is powerful, he's a big shot, he'll say, I want half, 50%. If it is 25%, then I want 12.5%.
Okay.
It's a negotiation. Yeah. It is same when there is a re-recording and there are arrangements made, with totally different arrangements. So the arranger, if he's powerful, say if A.R. Rahman makes an arrangement of some song, publisher or the original writers will have to give him a little, a share, because his arrangement, because of his name, will, it's big publicity. So these are exactly the type of discussion which the publisher is doing. It's not the lyricist and the composer.
That's why you need a publisher. That's why you need a publisher.
Because these are business decisions.
Yeah.
And when you are a creator, it's your song, so you don't have the distance, and you don't know what are the traditions in the industry, and also in different countries, because it depends in which country. Some countries, every country has a different way of doing it. So you have to know the way of that country to take advantage where you can take advantage.
Right. So we'll take the last question today. So there is a question that if there are multiple listings of the same song, so does the author composer get paid like multiple times for the same song?
So what do you mean by listing? I didn't follow.
Multiple listings. So the question is that when a song has multiple listings on the same platform, does each song have a unique identity? Is IPRS able to track and collect royalties for all the listings for each song?
So I guess they're asking about consumption, whether each stream is earning revenue.
No, I don't. I think the question.
Multiple recordings?
If,
Is he meaning multiple recordings of
Yeah.
of each song? Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
that.
Multiple recordings.
He's saying multiple
Because
listings.
there are two possibilities here. One is that the same song is registered multiple times in the copyright societies. It happens. Okay, it happens. But it doesn't matter. All the songs are not getting paid. That song which is being used will get paid, and not the others. So every song is linked to a sound recording.
Correct.
Okay, so when that sound recording is played, then that registration will get the money. But I know that even if you go in the database of, say, PRS or BMI less, but especially PRS, the same song has multiple times. Sometimes it is shown that without a publisher, sometimes it is shown as with a publisher. But this is due mainly to the problem of the PRS database. And but the point is, even if the song is 10 times registered, it's not going to be paid 10 times. It's only that version, that registration, which is linked to the sound recording, that is getting paid. So
Yeah, but
there is no advantage.
Yeah.
There is no advantage in having multiple registrations.
Registrations, yeah.
It's useless, and
but-
it is stupid, in fact.
Yeah, so just in case the question was slightly different. So every time any song is played, whether it's the original or a cover version of that song, or what we call remixes in India, right? The composer and author have to get paid.
Yeah, I would like to give an example of this. I was speaking about Casa del Papel, and the song is Bella Ciao. If you type Bella Ciao India on YouTube, you have hundreds and hundreds of recordings. Even some people just with a harmonium singing Bella Ciao in Gujarati. Okay, but every time that video is, it is Bella Ciao. The royalties go to Bella Ciao.
Correct.
Today, Bella Ciao is one of the big earners in the country.
And that's the reason nowadays creators are inspiring people to go and make reels of the song. So it's not only boosting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What people who listen to us, what they have to understand is that don't worry if people are making versions of your songs and putting it on YouTube. You get paid, not they. You get paid. So
Yeah.
you should wish that 10,000 people should make versions of your song and put them up. They spend the money of recording the version, they spend the money on video, and then the money comes to you, because
Yeah.
YouTube is not going to pay them. YouTube is going to pay you. At least
And that brings
IPRS is making sure that you are paid and not the others.
And that brings us to another topic, which will require one more session, is that how to register and upload your song in the right format, so that the fingerprinting and the algorithm works to monitor all the plays of your song and bring the royalties back to you. Because when the song is uploaded on YouTube, it has to be uploaded in the right format. If it's in a wrong format, then the algorithm will not work in your favor, and we need to have a separate session to discuss
Yes.
that. It's a very long one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't have any more questions, and I think it's been a long session. Thank you so much for your time.
So now is the time when Rumpaji will bring out the champagne and the glasses and we will all have a party.
So once we reach that 10,000 crores, which
Yes.
Atul has shown us the figure. Okay, so just to like before ending, any parting words from both of you, or any unique experience you you went through while doing the study? Because I remember you have spoken to 500 creators to the study together. So any unique experience, any new experience which you gathered while doing the study, as a parting words from Atul sir and Mr. Ashil?
Atul ji?
Yeah, I think we were drawing diagrams on the flow of rights, and I think we were surprised at sometimes how complex it was becoming. That was fun because you have to sit and kind of sort it out. So we went through many reiterations, especially Achille and me. We were talking about this, and then poor Shurat was typing it in. So it is a complex network, and on the face of it, it seems simple enough. But that is why it's important for composers and authors, and of course for the performers also, to entrust your work to a body that knows the business. It's very good to do DIY, 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 but you can't do DIY in the finer points of the business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your experience?
I think, first of all, we must, there is someone who deserves our thanks in a very big way, because he has done a lot of work and he found the photographs, or which are he has not left any stone unturned to help us. It is Surit Bhattacharya in IPRS. He has been really very, very helpful. So thank you very much, Surit, if you listen to us. Otherwise, Rumpa will tell you. But no, what the best memory that I have of this is the first time when EY, you remember we had the very first meeting was Ashish of EY. And Ashish came, he sat down and he said, look, guys,
I remember.
I don't know why you want to make a study. We are doing every year study on FICCI. We are doing a study on IMI, twice a year on the music industry. Why do you want to make a new study? Then there was a whiteboard in front of the table, and Atul and I will say, Ashish, you hold on, let us explain to you. So we started making some diagrams. They see this is how the royalties flow, these are the rights, this is how the royalty flow. And within 15, 20 minutes, suddenly he said, hey, I am all excited now. Now, hold on. So he took out his phone, he called up his secretary, and he said, hey, my next 2 meetings, you please cancel them. And he was with us for 2 hours. And he became all excited. And I think that was really the moment when that study took off, because of course he did all the work for the study, and it was that special moment where what we call the lightning in the bottle we could catch.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it was a beautiful moment. Yes,
It's a beautiful moment. That's
Yeah.
right.
So thank you so much for bringing the study alive, and thanks to Mr. Ashish Pherwani for making this happen with the help of ENY and the team at ENY. Wonderful. And we are looking forward to the more versions of this study in the coming years. I'm sure you're working on the next chapters soon.
No,
No,
no.
not yet, not yet.
We are working now on what we have discovered with this study.
Right, right.
There are you see, 500 lyricists and composers have been interviewed by Ernst & Young, and what have they told us? And you see their problems and what they need to know. You see, 73% they need to know more about production, 77% they need to know more about how the industry works. That's huge. It's 3/4 of the industry who feels, creators who feel that their knowledge is inadequate. So how do we fill now that knowledge? What are the structures also for the social protection? And there's a huge work ahead, and I'm really looking forward to work with MCAI, with IPRS, and to take the cause of the artists, ahead. I think, as I said, what happened in the past is never going to come back again. It is over. It's done. Now we are, in this country, we are functioning as well as in Germany, France, Japan, or US, better than US, in fact. So you are getting your royalties and you will get more and more. But how can we better help the creators? What are their needs and how can we fulfill them? And where do we find the finances to fulfill them?
Right. Yeah. Okay, so like a lot of work in hand now, and let's all get together to make the findings a reality. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you, Rumpa. Thanks, Ashish.
Everybody all over the country who has
Yes, and
followed.
thank you, our wonderful audience. We have a room
Look
full of
forward to
audience.
meet you one of these days.
No, and we think that these are boring, but we have a room full of audience.
IPRS, they promised me to rent a private plane so that I can hop all around the country and meet everybody.
And thanks to our audience, we have all of them with us like for 1.5 hours,
Wow.
trying to understand. Yes, and it's kind of really encouraging for us. And thank you so much. We had such a lovely audience today.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you everyone. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.